What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports here to give you the edge for this NBA 112 slate on DraftKings. Cannot wait to break it down. Can we talk about yesterday real quick? So yesterday, my first day back technically since the move and since getting over COVID. Come 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm waking up. I'm motivated. I jump in the shower, let the dogs out. I do all the stuff I need to do to record some content for you guys, right? Like I'm super motivated. I'm ready to go. We got the new camera. We got the new setup. We're just ready. I do the entire content recording and I do the notes online. By the way, we post free cheat sheets every single day to our website. So if you guys want to check out the notes, head over. It's completely free. It basically covers everything we cover in this video. But if you don't have time to watch a video, just head over there, check out our cheat sheets. I got that done yesterday morning for the slate yesterday. And I go to upload my video, right? And I get this little red pop-up right when I upload the video. It says, you cannot upload any content for the next 7 days. So I click on the little pop-up and I say, learn why, or find out why. I forget what it even said. And apparently I had a community strike. I think that's what they're calling it on YouTube, for selling unsolicited content or something, unsolicited goods and services or something. So guys, I'm now becoming apparently a drug dealer, YouTube drug dealer, according to YouTube, or a pornography seller or something, whatever they want to tag me as. I don't know. But anyway, this is the second time they tagged me on doing this. The first time they did it, I sent an appeal and they got it reversed. And then this time, they just straight up shut down my account for 7 days. So, reached out to YouTube support, and obviously very angry about this. Sent my four-letter words in this YouTube chat, and I was like, look, I'm running a business. This is my whole life that I'm depending on YouTube to get out content for you guys, and obviously you guys hate it as well. This is hurting my brand, so I don't know what you need to do, but you guys need to figure it out, because I'm not selling porn, I'm not selling nudity, I'm not selling drugs, I'm not doing any of that. I'm selling DFS content for DFS, right? So it's not even gambling, which is why they tagged me in the first place. They tagged me because it was gambling related, at least they thought. So anyway, they did the research. They took off the appeal at about 5, and they didn't even notify me. I had to go onto YouTube and then look at my dashboard to find out that, hey, it was lifted. So they didn't send me an email. They didn't reach out or anything. They literally just lifted it without telling me. So I uploaded that video to YouTube, and that is the background story, and that is why we're here today. Perfectly fine now. Hopefully we are good to go. And I told them if this happens in the future, like, it's going to continue to bog me down. But I got rid of all of the links in my description that had anything to do with any kind of quote unquote gambling terminology. I don't know. But anyway, that's the story. We are now diving into this slate. I know I'm trying to get more personal with you guys, so that's what happened yesterday. I promise I'm not just giving you guys a cold shoulder. I'm posting content every single morning going forward. Starting at 8 a.m. Okay, so here, new setup, looks good. Let's actually switch over to this slate. Let me figure out the Streamlabs here. There we go. Very clean, right? That's what I'm going for. So we can go over the injury report real quick. I'm not going to go over everything, because at this point, with COVID hurting pretty much every single team has some piece of injury news that's gonna hurt them. So let's go over the significant injury news. Right now with Atlanta, we have Capella and Reddish both doubtful. We're going to assume they are out, and there's some good value in that game. Then here with the San Antonio Spurs, we still have a laundry list of a lot of players here that impact the usage to this roster. We have Derek White, Vassell, McDermott all play tremendous amount of minutes. We have Trae Young coming off the bench, technically the backup point guard, who would technically play a lot of minutes when he does play. He's also out. Keldon Johnson, we know, is a starter. He is also out in Zach Collins. So San Antonio Spurs are probably going to end up being the chalk here, leading up through lock. And we also have some pending injury news here on Brooklyn. So I'm not going to be covering them too much until we hear more news on James Harden and Kyrie Irving. Hopefully we get that before lock, because that game does tip off at 10, and that's supposed to be a good one. Chicago, technically relevant now, so I would like to see them have a full roster going up against the Chicago Bulls. But besides that, nothing really too much. We know that Whiteside is still starting, Gobert is still out. Other than that, not really too much significant injury news. But we will be going game by game, team by team, and I'll be giving you guys my favorite GPP plays, cash plays. Let's start here with the Boston Celtics going against the Pacers. With Dennis Schroeder, $4,800 is without Marcus Smart. So if we look at the Boston Celtics, Marcus Smart is out. That really only impacts Dennis Schroeder, because he gets a bump in minutes here. He's projected about 30 minutes. He's $4,800. This is a very low-paced game. So if we look at the game total here, 211. I believe is the second lowest on the slate. So that's not intriguing, but I do like Dennis Schroeder for GPPs. Now, I was actually surprised he wasn't carrying more ownership because when Marcus Smart is out, when Dennis Schroeder does play significant minutes and he is in the rotation here, I do like him at 12.3%. By the way, I'll be covering my favorite prize picks entries here throughout the video. I have two favorite plays. They're both going to be unders. So if you guys haven't signed up for prize picks, I know we've been getting a lot of signups recently, enter code using DGF for a 100% matchup to $100. Prize picks, one of the best ways to play DFS today. You simply hit the over or under on any certain fantasy point projection or player prop. So I have a couple unders for you guys. When I get to those players, I will talk about them here in a little bit. But the rest of these guys are just going to be GPP options, in my opinion. And Dennis Schroeder is technically a GPP option, even though I think he should be a little bit higher owned. So a small GPP, maybe a good way to get different there with Dennis Schroeder. 30 minutes, $4,800. Should easily hit that price point. We have him projected at 30 fantasy points here, 6.25 point per dollar value with the Pacers. Not too much going on here, but I will go ahead and tag Miles Turner because he's $6,100 in a very good matchup. We know Boston does struggle against bigs. $6,100 for Miles Turner is always going to be one of my favorite GPP options on the slate, as long as he's below 7K. This guy, when he's on, he is on. He's getting blocks, he's getting rebounds, he even scores. Miles Turner, very underrated in a good matchup here. Probably the only Pacers guy I really have any interest in. And that's strictly just because of the pace of the game. Like, they're only projected to score 105 points here against the Boston Celtics. So just Dennis Schroeder and also Miles Turner here from the very first game. Looking here at the Charlotte Hornets versus the Philly 76ers. We have a couple of good options, but my favorite here is going to be Cody Martin. Cody Martin does present some good value. However, he is very, very low owned here at 5.6% owned. By the way, if you guys haven't signed up for Fantasy Cruncher, don't know what you're doing, one of the best ways to step up your DFS game, we are partnered with Fantasy Cruncher. If you guys sign up for a $20 membership, you just get all of our stats and stuff. But if you sign up for a $30 membership, you get a $20 voucher to any Fantasy Cruncher product. So $30 gives you all of our stats, all of our favorite plays, and then you can play around with our favorite plays in Fantasy Cruncher. You can sign up for FC Lite, the NBA package, for only $20 a month. We get you a $20 voucher. So think about it, guys. It's a completely free offer. If you head over, get the NBA Lite package, you can crunch up to 20 lineups at a time, completely free. Makes complete sense from that perspective. So that's on the table as well. Cody Martin, my favorite GPP option here from this team. 4K, projected 28 minutes. He's not going to break the slate or anything, I don't think, unless he does get hot, but he does show well here on the sheet. This is a slight pace-up game here for the Charlotte Hornets. 225.5 over under is actually pretty substantial. So he's my favorite option. These other guys are just going to be GPP options. I know a lot of people are going to see LaMelo Ball at 8.7K. His minutes always scare me. This should be competitive, so he should be playing upwards of about 34 to 36 minutes. So I do like him for a GPP option, but other than that, really no interest here for from the Charlotte Hornets. He is showing a 5.23 point per dollar value. Switching over to the 76ers, not too much going on here. I didn't tag anybody just because I really don't like the matchup. I don't like the price tags, rather. Joel Embiid, I love the matchup, actually. 57.5 points, 11.2K. That's a little bit too pricey, but we know bigs against the Charlotte Hornets always smash value, and you're talking about one of the best bigs in the entire league. So Joel Embiid, nice GPP option, showing 13.1%. Orlando, this is where we're starting to get into some really, really good plays, in my opinion. We got Franz Wagner. I think I said that right here. 29 projected minutes. He is projected right now for 33.5 points. He's heavily in that starting rotation, but his price tag is the thing that's the most intriguing to me. Started out in that 4K range here at the beginning of the season, but since then has gone all the way up to about 6.5K and dropped back down to 5.7. I do like the minute upside here, assuming they can keep it close, which it should be. 6-point spread here because Bradley Beal is not playing, so I would expect that spread to be a little bit more in the Wizards' favor if he was playing, but a 215.5 over under is not too bad. But Wagner, I do like him for GPPs. Rates out well on the sheet. Going to play starter minutes, and he's 5.7K, one of the primary scorers here for the Orlando Magic. Another guy, this guy I absolutely love. Might even be cash viable in my opinion, and that's because Cole Anthony at $7,400 is only projected 32 minutes here on Fantasy Cruncher. I think that's wrong. I really think he plays upwards of about 35 to 38 minutes. Again, assuming this does stay close. $7,400 for Cole Anthony is just way too low. He needs to be 8K or higher because he is this team when it comes to scoring. He is turning out to be a great player. So I do like Cole Anthony in terms of the upside there at that 7.4K price tag. I actually consider him cash viable. I really do, especially at that price point. But he is showing lower ownership than I expected, 18.7% ownership. So therefore, being a better GPP play. Looking at the Washington Wizards, we have our first lock on the slate. This is going to be a cash lock. This guy's going to be over-owned. Spencer Dinwiddie, 38 projected points. I believe he had that exact same projection last night. I think he hit 42, 46. Yeah, he crushed it. And he got off to a slow start too. So Spencer Dinwiddie, Kyle Kuzma, one of these two guys, if not both of them, are going to do very well tonight without Bradley Beal. All the usage goes to these guys if you guys want to take a look at how this really impacts them on the court. Dinwiddie gets a 4.8% usage bump and a 0.2 fantasy point per minute bump. Same thing with Kyle Kuzma. He's also getting a 4% bump and a 0.12 fantasy point per minute bump. It affects Spencer Dinwiddie more so when Bradley Beal's off the court, but it also affects Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma, 8K, did get that price reduction. He was actually showing decent ownership last night with the 8.4K price tag, so I do expect him to show even more. Now, he did hit his price point last night, but just barely. So at an 8K price tag, I do like him. I like both of these guys, and I also like Montrezl Harrell. Keep in mind, Thomas Bryant is expected to be back tonight after that ACL tear from last season. Thankfully, he is back. We're ready to see him in action. I don't think he starts. I think he does play limited minutes, but Montrezl Harrell, 4.7K, 22 projected minutes, which is exactly what he was projected last night. Keep in mind, Thomas Bryant did not play last night, and Montrezl Harrell played 24 minutes. So Thomas Bryant, right now they're projecting him for 11 minutes. I don't know where they're getting that projection from. It could literally be anywhere from 10 to 25 in my personal opinion. That being said, let's look over at the prize pick board here. Montrezl Harrell, 27 projection. He didn't even hit that last night. I think that is far too much. We're going to hit the under on Montrezl Harrell. Because Thomas Bryant's going to be in that rotation now. I know he's not supposed to play much, but still, he's going to be in that rotation. Gafford's supposed to start tonight. So where's Montrezl Harrell going to be in this mix? He's going to be seeing a max of, in my opinion, of about 20 to 22 minutes again. And I just don't think he hits that 27 fantasy point mark. That's going to be very hard for him to do. The only scenario I see him hitting that easily is if this game does blow out and they throw Montrezl Harrell out there in garbage minutes. But 6-point spread, I think they keep it close. And I do think the under hits here on Montrezl Harrell. I think all that reasoning does make sense. But I do like him for DFS, if that makes sense, because he's very cheap. He's 4.7K. Regardless, he's just a GBP option. Switching over to the Miami Heat. Not too much love here all the way around. I only tagged one guy. That's going to be Caleb Martin just because of that price tag. 4.4K here against Atlanta, a decent matchup, and he is showing pretty well in terms of a point per dollar value. He has 26.5 projection here on Prize Picks, which is actually pretty good for a guy that's going to be starting and playing in that starting rotation here. 28 minutes, he could play over that. Good GPP option here at a 9.7K or 9.7% ownership. Looking over at Atlanta, this guy's drawing a lot of chalk here. Okongwu, 44.4%. He's technically the highest owned on the slate. Do I agree with that? I actually don't. Okongwu is a good play. I'll say that, but his upside is very limited. He's not known for his primary scoring. He's not known for stuffing the stat sheet. However, he kind of did that last game, getting 10 rebounds. Just fell short of a double-double, but he only scored 23 DraftKings points in 38 minutes. So that's, guys, you're playing 38 minutes and you're only scoring 20 DraftKings points, you suck in the NBA. 26 projected minutes right now, 44.4% ownership. Yes, he's a good value play. Do I think he's going to break the slate wide open or anything? Probably not. He's just not historically known for being a good fantasy point per minute player. So my hesitation is with the Okongwu. I will say this: if you want to fade him, you'll probably make a lot of money if he drops flat. I think he's a sharp fade, but I don't fade him in cash. I think he's an obvious play, an obvious value play. I just think he has limited upside just with his historical fantasy points per minute. And again, the reason he is chalk is because Capella and Reddish are out, mainly Capella because he's playing those starter minutes and he's playing in that starting rotation at a 3.9K price tag. The rest of these guys really don't make sense. Keep in mind, this is also 223 over under, which is probably on the lower side here on the slate. So, it's just not a thrilling matchup as well. So switching over to the Dallas Mavericks, really no interest whatsoever here, maybe for just GBP options against the New York Knicks. This is supposed to be a lower pace game as well. DFS is showing the best in terms of a value play. 26.5 points is what we haven't projected at here. 4.8K price tag. Other than that, really no interest. I know that Porzingis is out, but all these guys have been adjusted to reflect that being the case. Doncic went all the way up to 10.9K. He just seems to not be impacted by Porzingis anyway. He seems like he's just going to shoot the ball regardless. So I don't have any interest outside of bigger GBPs here from the Dallas Mavericks. Switching over to the New York Knicks, the exact same thing can be said here. We do have some pending injury news here from Taj Gibson, Nerlens Noel, Kemba Walker. Obviously, we have to pay attention to that. If anything does come from that, then yeah, that will shake up this roster. But other than that, really no interest outside of bigger GBPs here for the New York Knicks. Now, I'm getting to some love here with the Houston Rockets. I want you guys to pay attention to this. So if you look at the projected minutes here, we have Christian Wood projected at 30 minutes. We have KPJ projected at 30 minutes. We also have Jalen Green projected at 29 minutes. But all of these projections, I think, are completely off. I think that KPJ could easily see over 35 minutes. Christian Wood could easily see 32 to 35 if this game does stay competitive here versus the San Antonio Spurs, being a Texas matchup here. Because if you look at the last 2 games, on the left side of my screen here. Yep, that is right. They were both blowouts. The last 3 games were actually blowouts. And as you can see, if you guys box score watch, even in the blowout last game, they just didn't play as many minutes as we're used to seeing from these 2 players, talking about KPJ and Christian Wood and some of these other starters. You saw 36 minutes last game, but you saw 28 and 24 the game before that. And then KPJ saw 28, 26, 27 the past 3 games, again, because of the blowouts. So if this game remains competitive, if this does become a higher scoring game, then Christian Wood and KPJ at 6.9K and 5.8K are very undervalued. I love these guys. I think they are also cash viable. Even though they're showing lower than expected ownership, I love Christian Wood and I love Kevin Porter Jr. here at 5.8K. These guys are just undervalued in my opinion. Jalen Green's also technically undervalued at 4.7K. Just I don't love him as much as Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. because we're used to seeing him play about 28 to 30 minutes on average. So that price tag makes a lot more sense in my opinion there, that 4.7K price tag. But there's another guy I want to talk about here, Deshaun Tate at 5.1K. Disregard DraftKings because we're going to talk about prize picks. He's also my other under here. Right now, he's projected for 26 prize picks points. I'm going to be hitting the under. Everybody's back on this roster. Deshaun Tate was only playing minutes when Christian Wood and KPJ were out and a lot of these other players. Now that we're seeing him back here with the starting rotation, he's not done so well. And last game was one of the first games back. Only got 17.7 points. And also the minutes have dropped off here for Deshaun Tate. 26, 23, and 25 the past 3 games. I do think that he's limited in this game as well. Only projected right now for 26 minutes. So he has to average over a fantasy point per minute to really hit that mark. And historically, he's not a fantasy point per minute player, especially with all these guys back. So hitting the under on Deshaun Tate and also Montrezl Harrell. Those are my favorite 2 prize picks. Again, enter code using DGF for 100% matchup to $100 if you guys want to sign up for that today. All right, switching over to the San Antonio Spurs, this is the chalk team to target, period, because the San Antonio Spurs are without all those guys we talked about at the beginning of the video. Lonnie Walker, let's go ahead and just lock him in now. 29 fantasy points is what we have projected for him right now. 4.6K projected, 28 minutes. I know, it's a pop rotation. We never actually know how many minutes these guys are going to play, but I can almost guarantee you that Lonnie Walker is going to see about 27 plus minutes. And at a 4.6K price tag, it does make sense. He should be seeing more than that. He should be seeing 35 plus, in my opinion. Again, with all these guys off the court, if this does remain competitive, which again, it should be, he's at home, he should perform well. He's the thumbnail for a reason here. 29 fantasy points. I do like Lonnie Walker. One of the more obvious plays here on the slate. DeJounte Murray, the stud to pay up for here at 9.7K, 33 projected minutes. I think that minute projection is correct. I do like him as well. He's also showing a lot of ownership, 5.26 point per dollar value. He's just an okay play in my opinion. It makes sense. DeJounte Murray, the only thing that does scare me with him is Pop obviously being his coach and limiting his minutes. Jakob Poeltl is a guy that's flying under the radar right now, showing 26.3% ownership. I'm actually surprised it's not higher. This guy's just been on a tear. Prize picks wise, he's projected 34 points. Right now, we have him projected for 37. And he's the only center on this roster, the only true center to handle Christian Wood. So, do like him. Another cash piece, if you happen to land on 3 or 4 Spurs, that's definitely not a bad thing. He also makes a lot of sense. Another guy that's going to fall under the radar here is going to be Joshua Primo. And when I mean fall under the radar, I mean he's going to be lower owned out of these other Spurs players. I'm neutral on him because I, being a Spurs fan, have watched him in the past. And as you guys can see here, he doesn't really go crazy because he only shoots the ball. He doesn't really do anything else but shoot the ball. I feel like he's a young DeMar DeRozan, at least with his shot taking ability. He's always shooting from the wing. He's not really taking aggressive takes to the hole. Of course, that's going to develop over time, but he just doesn't do much. Like, he just shoots the ball. 4 of 9, 4 of 16, 4 of 7 the past 3 games. So yes, he's a rookie. He's going to shoot. He's going to shoot often. Not saying it's going to be pretty, but Joshua Primo, obviously, if he gets hot, he's going to cover that price tag at 4K. He just doesn't have that much upside, in my opinion. So if we're a cash piece, if you happen to land on him, don't hate it. If you fade him, then I also don't hate that as well. So Joshua Primo, just an okay play at a 4K price tag. The minute upside is going to be there for him. Switching over to the Cleveland Cavs, really no interest here whatsoever. Bad matchup. Evan Mobley's going to have his hands full there. Just good defense. I know Rudy Gobert's not there, but just in general, they are a good defensive roster. Utah Jazz, again, not too much interest outside of Hassan Whiteside. So guess who faded Hassan Whiteside last slate? That was not me. That was TJ, because he box score watched. He watched the last 2 games, 17.5 points, 20.75, and then he faded him, and then he went off and scored 51 points. Don't be TJ. Don't do that, because historically, fantasy point per minute wise, Hassan Whiteside's over a 1.2 fantasy point per minute player. So guys, he's a good play. He's going to be in a good matchup here. Really do like him at a 6.2K price tag. I do consider him cash viable. The only problem with the Hassan Whiteside is he's only center eligible, so there's a lot of center options to choose from. Him and Jakob Poeltl are going to be sharing a lot of the ownership, in my opinion. I do prefer Hassan Whiteside because he's guaranteed run. Again, just saying that because Pop is the coach of Jakob Poeltl. So Hassan Whiteside, 29.5%. Definitely do agree with that, and I do consider him cash viable and also small GPP viable. Switching over to the Brooklyn Nets, going to hold off on these guys because these guys are obviously all pending significant injury news. Talking about James Harden, Kyrie Irving. We never know what's going on with Kyrie Irving anyway, but these guys are questionable. If they both do play, then yeah, I'm not going to have really any interest in these Brooklyn Nets. But if one of those 2 guys are out, if both of them are out, I'm going to have a lot of interest in Kevin Durant. Switching over to the Chicago Bulls, really no interest here because all these guys are healthy other than Alex Caruso, the backup. DeMar DeRozan at 8.4K. Did get the price reduction. Don't really get that one because he did hit value last game at an 8.7K price tag. 12% ownership. I do expect him to have to step it up tonight if they're going to keep it close here with the Brooklyn Nets. Do like him, actually. So he's probably my favorite option here from the Chicago Bulls. 233 over under is the highest on the slate for what it's worth. Do like them playing at home. Minute upside is going to be there. Definitely don't mind him for GBPs. I think he's definitely more of a GBP play. He's definitely not safe. But if the Chicago Bulls are going to be keeping it close, I do expect him or Zach LaVine to have a very good game. Last but not least, we have the Lakers versus Sacramento, the second highest over-under on the slate. So the last 2 games here on the slate, late night hammers, are the highest over-unders. Lakers, LeBron James is showing ownership here with Russell Westbrook back. Really don't get that one. I guess people are just believing the narrative that LeBron James is going to keep playing out of his mind. Guys, he's old. I do expect him to have a game where he does regress. I think this could be the game here. I know it's a higher over-under, but 11.7K for LeBron James. If you told me that at the beginning of the season, I would never pay that price tag. So 16.7% ownership is actually surprising. I think it's a little bit higher than I thought it would be. LeBron James, not really a huge fan of, or really any of these LA Lakers. Switching over to the Sacramento Kings, last but not least here. Don't have any interest here either. I think all these price tags are pretty fair. Tyrese Halliburton's probably my favorite option, 17.9% ownership. Harrison Barnes, 5.3K. Definitely don't mind him as well. But again, just GPP plays. These guys are not obvious plays. It's a higher over-under, so these guys do have high upside at their ownership. But other than that, really no true interest here. So what I did is I broke down my favorite plays here. Spencer Dinwiddie is going to be a lock. Lonnie Walker is going to be a lock in my opinion. Kevin Porter Jr. is going to be a lock, and I also might lock in Christian Wood. Still don't know what I'm doing with my lineup. Then also Okongwu, just because he's going to be higher owned. Yes, he's an obvious play. I don't want to fade him just because he could burn me. But that could be a place where you could get different. But those are my 4 locks as of right now in terms of ownership, in terms of upside, in terms of my overall favorite plays. And yes, I did crunch based on my projections as of right now. This is what I'm landing on. This will definitely change leading up through lock. But that will wrap up my video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course smash that like button for all of our future NBA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day, and let's cash.